On the day I officially became an adult, my family made it painfully clear that I was still the least important person in the house. My name is Mia. I just turned 18, and this birthday was supposed to feel like everything finally changed. Instead, I spent it wiping tables at the small cafe where I work, pretending my chest wasn't hollow. For weeks, I'd circled the date on my calendar, imagining the celebration my mom promised. 18, the big one. I pictured balloons, cake, relatives, maybe even a few friends from school. I kept telling myself, this time they'll actually show up for me. But when the day arrived, it was like someone had quietly erased my name from all their plans. All because of Lily. Lily is my younger sister. If you asked anyone in my family, they'd say she's sensitive or difficult or just going through a phase. In reality, she's a storm that everyone keeps trying to keep calm, even if it means drowning the rest of us. She'd thrown a massive tantrum because Mom said no to the newest gadget she wanted. Screaming, slamming doors, throwing things, the usual. Only this time it cost me my birthday. "We can't risk setting her off with a big party right now," Mom told me, her voice tight but oddly final. "You know how she gets." That one sentence carved straight through me. It wasn't said to be cruel. That almost made it worse. It was casual, matter of fact, like canceling my 18th birthday for Lily's comfort was the logical thing to do. No apology, no "we'll make it up to you," just "your sister's feelings come first." As I stood behind the counter at the cafe, sliding hot drinks toward customers who barely glanced at me, I realized how familiar this feeling was. Not just hurt, not just disappointment. It was that heavy, sinking sense of being invisible in my own life. Everything in our house moved around Lily, her moods, her meltdowns, her wants. I was always the one told to understand, to be mature, to let it go. It hit me that I'd spent years living like a background character in my own story. While I steamed milk and faked polite smiles, I kept replaying the last few days in my head. My birthday had been on the family calendar for months. Mom had talked about cooking my favorite meal, inviting my grandparents, maybe even taking photos. Then Lily saw an ad for some must-have gadget and decided her life would be over without it. Mom said no. Lily exploded. By the end of the night, the only thing anyone in the house talked about was how to keep Lily calm. The next morning, my birthday celebration had quietly vanished from existence. At breakfast, I watched my mom hover around Lily like she was made of cracked glass. Lily sat at the table, arms folded, pretending not to care but making sure everyone saw how miserable she was. Mom flipped pancakes, forcing a smile, her eyes darting to Lily every few seconds like she was waiting for another explosion. "Mom," I finally managed, my throat dry, "what about my cake?" The room froze for a beat. Lily's eyes snapped to me, annoyed that I dared to redirect any attention. Mom's face shifted, exasperated, as if I'd chosen the worst possible moment to bring it up. "Can we not do this right now?" she said. "Lily is already upset. I can't deal with another outburst. We'll figure something out for you later, okay?" There it was, later, the word that always meant never in our house. I swallowed the lump-away throat and forced myself to nod. I'd been trained not to make things harder, not to add to the drama, so I did what I always did. Stayed quiet, smiled like I wasn't burning up inside, cleared my plate, and left for work early. As I walked to the cafe, the air felt thick and heavy, like it knew something was about to snap. A part of me kept whispering, "Maybe you're overreacting, it's just a party." But another part, the one that had been quietly keeping score for years, answered back, "It's not just the party, it's every single time they chose her over you and called it peace." That answer would not shut up. Behind the counter, as I pulled espresso shots and wiped down the same spot on the counter for the third time, I couldn't escape that thought. If I disappeared, would anything at home actually fall apart? Or would they just adjust, the same way they always expected me to adjust? I was still turning that over in my mind when a strange certainty slid into place. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life waiting for scraps of attention between my sister's breakdowns. I didn't want to keep being the reliable one they only noticed when they needed something done. I was tired of waking up in a life that didn't feel like mine. Somewhere between refilling the sugar jars and refolding napkins, a small, dangerous idea formed. Maybe I didn't have to stay. I'll tell you how far I took that thought and what happened when my family realized I wasn't there to pick up their pieces anymore. But before I do, if you're into intense, real lifestyle stories like this, make sure you're following along so you don't miss what comes next. The morning of my birthday, the one that was supposed to be special, started like any other bad day. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the muffled sounds of Lily stomping around downstairs. Voices rose and fell, Mom's anxious, Lily's sharp and accusing. My name didn't come up once. I got dressed slowly, each movement weighted, then went downstairs. The tension was so thick it felt like walking into a wall. Lily sat at the table, scrolling on her phone, jabbing at the screen like it had personally offended her. Mom was at the stove, making pancakes with the kind of forced cheerfulness reserved for guests or disasters. "I'm really sorry, sweetheart," Mom was saying, to Lily. "We just can't afford it right now, you know that. I can't believe you'd throw a fit over something like this." "You never get it," Lily snapped. "Everyone at school has it. I'm always the one left out. But sure, let's cancel my life so Mia can have her stupid party." The ironic thing was the party had already been canceled, for her. I stood there, watching my mom's shoulders tense, watching Lily pout like she was the tragic hero of the story. Part of me wanted to scream, to shout, "It's my birthday, remember?" Another part of me knew how that would go. I'd be told I was being selfish, that Lily was struggling, that I needed to be the bigger person. I chose a middle ground, a quiet one. "Mom," I said softly, "so no cake? Nothing today?" She turned to me, eyes already tired. "Mia, please, I can't handle all of this at once. We'll do something later in the week when things calm down, okay? Right now, I just need to keep Lily from spiraling, okay?" Her words fell on me like cold water. Keep Lily from spiraling. That was the priority. Not the birthday she'd promised, not the daughter silently shrinking at the edge of the kitchen. I nodded again because disagreeing felt useless. I ate my pancakes in silence. No happy birthday, no candles, not even a mention of the date. Lily complained about school, about her friends, about how no one understands her. Mom comforted her. I cleared the plates. By lunchtime, I was at the cafe, hiding behind the routine of work. I poured myself into my tasks, hoping the ache would dull. But the universe wasn't giving me that out either. Two regulars sat near the counter, talking loudly about their teenage memories. "Remember your 18th? One of them laughed. "Your mom went all out, even had that surprise cake with the embarrassing photo on it." The other groaned playfully. "Yeah, I wanted to disappear, but honestly, I loved it. It felt like, I don't know, like I mattered, I guess." That sentence lodged in my chest, like I mattered. I realized I had no memory like that. Not really. Every milestone of mine had a footnote. Lily had a meltdown, Lily got sick, Lily needed something, Lily was not in a good place, so my wins always got moved, shrunk, or quietly forgotten. I didn't throw fits, so I got nothing. It clicked then. In our house, whoever screamed the loudest got loved the hardest. I finished my shift mechanically, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. On my break, I found myself scrolling through my phone, looking at old messages. Times I'd tried to bring up how I felt. Times I'd gotten responses like, "You're stronger than she is," or can you just let it go for now? We're dealing with enough. Strong, mature, understanding. Those were the nice words they used when they meant, you're the one we can afford to ignore. That night, I didn't go home. Instead, I walked to my grandparents' house. It wasn't far, just a few streets down from the cafe. I'd gone there a million times as a kid, usually dropped off so my parents could deal with Lily without me in the way. It had always felt a little like a safe harbor, a place where nobody was walking on eggshells. My grandma opened the door, surprised. "Mia, honey, what are you doing here so late?" I hadn't planned what to say. The words tumbled out anyway. "Can I stay here for a bit? Just a few days? I can explain. I can't be at home right now." She didn't ask for more. She just stepped aside. "Of course you can." Grandpa came into the kitchen a few minutes later, pulling out a chair for me like he was making space not just at their table, but in their lives. Something about that small gesture cracked me open. Before I knew it, I was sobbing into my hands, my entire birthday story spilling out. The canceled party, the way Mom had phrased it, the way I felt like a ghost in my own house. They listened, really listened. No excuses, no, but your sister. Just quiet, focused concern. When I finally ran out of words, there was a long silence. "We always knew there was favoritism," my grandpa said at last, his jaw tight. "We just didn't realize it had gotten this bad." My grandma reached across the table and took my hand. "You've always been the one keeping everything running," she said softly. "You took care of your sister, you helped your parents, you worked, you studied. You were so steady we all thought you were fine. We should have asked more. We should have looked closer." Their words hit me in a place I hadn't realized was aching. For the first time, an adult was acknowledging that what I felt was real, not me being dramatic or ungrateful. Somewhere in the middle of that conversation, a thought surfaced, clear and sharp. What happens to a house built on an invisible support beam when that beam decides it's done holding everything up? In the following days, I didn't go back home. I called my job, picked up extra shifts at the cafe, and crashed on the small bed in my grandparents' spare room. I left a brief note at the house explaining I was safe and staying with Grandma and Grandpa, then turned my phone on silent. At first, the messages that came in were almost casual. "Mom, hey, where are you? You didn't come home last night." "Lily, did you take my charger before you left? I can't find it." As if I'd just gone for a walk and forgotten to mention it. I didn't respond. I went to work, made coffees, chatted with customers. In the back room, on my breaks, I pulled out my guitar. Music had always been my quiet outlet. At home, it was something I did in my room with the door closed so I wouldn't bother anyone. Here, it felt like a lifeline. I started writing songs about being overshadowed, about being the reliable kid no one actually saw, about birthdays that never really happened. On a whim, I recorded a few short clips and posted them online. The response shocked me. "This is literally my life," someone commented. "My little sister is the golden child. I'm always the afterthought." I felt this in my bones. "You're not alone. Thank you for putting this into words." For the first time, my voice wasn't bouncing off the walls of a house that wouldn't listen. It was echoing out into the world, and people were echoing back. As the days passed, the tone of the messages from my family shifted. Mom, "Mia, this isn't funny. Where are you? We're worried." Dad, "Call us. Now." Mom again, "I know you're mad, but you can't just disappear like this. Lily is extremely upset." Then came paragraphs. I finally turned my phone's sound back on long enough to read them. "You're abandoning your family. We've done everything for you. Your sister is fragile. She can't handle this. You're tearing this family apart over one birthday party." I almost laughed. Bitter but real. The girl whose birthday had been deemed too risky to celebrate because of someone else's tantrum was now being called selfish for walking away. Then a message from Lily popped up. "So you ran away because you didn't get a party? Seriously? You're so dramatic, it's embarrassing."
I took a screenshot of that one, not to post, just as a reminder of how fast the story flipped the moment I stopped playing my assigned role. That week, one of our neighbors, Susan, walked into the cafe looking more tense than usual. She's the kind of person who knows everyone's business without exactly trying to. She ordered her usual drink, then leaned over the counter. "Mia," she whispered, "your house is a mess right now." My heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" "Your mom is falling apart. Your sister's been acting out even worse, screaming, skipping school, slamming doors. I heard your dad left for work with a suitcase this morning. Nobody knows if he's coming back tonight. They're lost without you, honey." Her words landed with a strange mix of satisfaction and guilt. It was confirmation of what I'd suspected but hadn't really wanted to be right about. I had been the quiet glue, the unpaid therapist, assistant, organizer, peacemaker. Remove that and things started sliding apart. "I'm fine," I told her, and for once it wasn't a lie. I just needed space. She studied me. "Honestly, maybe they needed this. Your mom was telling me the other day she didn't even know where half the important paperwork in the house is because you always handled it. She's realizing how much you did." That stung and soothed at the same time. That night, my phone exploded with new notifications.
"Mom, this has gone too far. Your sister is spiraling. Your father and I are fighting constantly. We need you to come home and help us get things back to normal." Not, "We miss you." Not, "We're sorry." Not even, "Are you okay?" Just, "We need you." Like I was a misplaced tool, not a person who had finally reached her limit. I typed 3 different angry responses and erased them each time. Finally, I wrote, "I'm safe. I'm working. I left because I was not being treated like a person with feelings. I'm not coming back to fix things." I hit send before I could chicken out, then flipped my phone face down on the bed, my heart pounding. When I checked it again later, there were walls of text waiting for me. Accusations, guilt trips, vows that I was overreacting, more explanations about Lily's emotional needs. Then, quietly, one more message appeared, from my dad. "Mia, I'm sorry. I didn't see how bad it was for you. I should have." I stared at that for a long time. Maybe he meant it. Maybe he was just afraid of losing me. Either way, I knew an apology in a text couldn't undo years of feeling like background noise. Meanwhile, my songs kept spreading. I never mentioned my family by name. I never gave specific details that would expose them publicly. But the themes, being the forgotten child, leaving home to save your sanity, choosing yourself after being chosen last, hit hard. Someone commented under one of my videos, "Sometimes going no contact is the only safe revenge." Another wrote, "The most powerful revenge is building a life that proves they were wrong about you." That word, revenge, sat on my tongue for a while. I hadn't let myself use it. It felt ugly, mean, but the more I thought about it, the more it shifted into something different. I wasn't slashing their tires or airing their secrets online. I was stepping out of a role that had been crushing me and letting them deal with the emptiness I used to quietly fill. I showed some of the comments to my grandparents one evening. My grandma squeezed my shoulder. "They see you," she said, "even if the people who were supposed to see you didn't." My grandpa gave me a long, thoughtful look. "You know this isn't going to end with messages," he said. "At some point, they're going to push for a big conversation. They won't just accept you being gone like this. Are you prepared for that?" The honest answer was no. Confrontations in my family had never gone well. They always ended with someone else crying and me comforting them, even when I was the one who'd been hurt. But I also knew I couldn't hide forever. If I wanted real change, real, lasting revenge in the form of boundaries and respect, I'd eventually have to walk back into their line of sight, not as the quiet, compliant girl they were used to, but as someone who finally knew her own worth. The chance came sooner than I expected.
One rainy evening, with the sky hanging low and heavy like it was holding everyone's secrets, my phone buzzed again. It was my grandpa. "Mia," he said, his voice more serious than usual. "Your parents were just here." My stomach clenched. "And?" "Your mother is shaken," he said. "Your sister had another meltdown. She's been telling people at school that you abandoned them for attention. Your mom wanted us to talk you into coming home. She says she wants things back to normal." There was that word again, normal. The version of normal where I held everything together while they praised Lily for breathing. "What did you tell them?" I asked quietly. "I told them no," he replied. "I told them we're not going to help them drag you back into the same role. If there's going to be a conversation, it will be on your terms or not at all." Something in my chest loosened at that. For once, an adult wasn't asking me to be the bigger person just so everyone else could stay comfortable. "She says she wants to understand you," he added. "She asked if we could arrange a meeting here. We didn't promise anything. We told her it would be up to you." That word, understand, had been used as a weapon against me plenty of times. Understand your sister. Understand why we have to do this. Understand that it's harder for her. But now, for the first time, I had distance, evidence, and my own support system. "Okay," I said eventually, "I'll meet them, but not at the house, at your place, and I'm not going alone, emotionally or otherwise." Over the next few days, I prepared, not like a scared kid bracing for a scolding, but like someone organizing a case file on their own life. I went through old texts and group chats, printing out screenshots where my needs had been brushed aside to cater to Lily. Messages about canceled events, broken promises, excuses made in her name. I wrote out specific memories so I wouldn't downplay them in the moment. The piano recital no one came to because Lily had a bad day. The school award I received that got half a congratulations before the topic switched back to her. Every birthday that got cut short, postponed, or treated like an inconvenience. Then, almost forgotten in my voice memos, I found something else, an audio recording I'd accidentally made months earlier. I'd hit record intending to capture a melody idea, then tossed my phone aside. It had picked up Lily on a call in the next room, bragging to a friend. "If I cry long enough, Mom cancels anything for me," she'd said, her voice smug. "She freaks out when I get upset. She doesn't care who she disappoints, as long as I stop." Listening to it again, my blood ran cold and crystal clear at the same time. I wasn't imagining the manipulation. She'd known exactly what she was doing, and my parents had fallen for it, over and over and over. I played the recording for my grandparents. My grandma covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. "Oh, Mia," she whispered, "we failed you by not stepping in sooner." "You're stepping in now," I said. "That's what matters." My grandpa's expression hardened into something I'd rarely seen on his face, resolve. "When they come," he said, "we're not going to let them talk over you. You will say what you need to say. They're going to hear it, whether they like it or not." The day of the meeting, I dressed simply but intentionally, not to impress them, to remind myself of who I was becoming. I pulled my hair back, looked in the mirror, and saw someone new gazing back, someone who was done begging for a seat at a table she'd been setting for years. On my way out of the cafe after my shift, my manager, Greg, stopped me at the door. He'd noticed the gradual shift in me, the way my shoulders had straightened, the way my laugh had come a little easier. "You heading somewhere important?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, exhaling. "Family stuff." He hesitated, then said, "Just remember, getting revenge doesn't always mean hurting them. Sometimes it just means refusing to let them hurt you the same way ever again." I let that sink in. That's the plan. The walk to my grandparents' house felt shorter than usual. Each step was measured, grounded. I thought of the girl who'd quietly packed a bag and slipped out of her house without a goodbye. I thought of the songs I'd written, the comments from strangers who understood me better than my own parents had. I thought of the kid version of me who used to hide in her room while Lily's shouting echoed through the house. By the time I reached the front door, I wasn't shaking anymore. Inside, I could already hear them. My mom's tearful voice, my dad's low sighs, Lily's sharp, impatient tone. My grandparents greeted me at the door, hugging me tight, then led me into the living room. Every head turned when I walked in. My mom looked wrecked, eyes swollen, makeup smeared, fingers twisting a crumpled tissue. My dad sat rigid on the edge of the couch, gaze somewhere near his shoes. Lily lounged in an armchair like she was watching a show she'd already decided she wouldn't like, her arms crossed, her expression dripping with disdain. For a split second, the old instincts flared. Say sorry even if you didn't do anything, make a joke to lighten the mood, ask them how they're feeling before they ask about you. Then I felt my grandma's hand on my back and my grandpa taking a firm seat beside me, a silent line drawn in the carpet. My voice was steady when I started. "You wanted to talk," I said. My mom jumped in immediately. "Mia, we've been so worried. You left without telling anyone. Your sister is devastated. Your dad and we've been fighting constantly. This isn't like you. You're not this cold." There it was, the familiar script. I was the problem because I stopped absorbing everyone else's. "You're right," I said quietly. "It isn't like the me you're used to, the me who swallows everything so nobody has to be uncomfortable, the me who lets things slide because it's easier that way. That version of me is gone." Lily rolled her eyes so hard it was almost theatrical. "Oh my God, here we go," she muttered. "You left because you didn't get a party. Stop pretending this is deeper than that. You're being ridiculous." I turned to her, not angry, just done. "Do you really believe this is about one party, or is that just easier for you than admitting this dynamic has been going on for years?" She opened her mouth to snap back, but my grandpa's voice cut in, firm and calm. "We're here to listen to Mia today. All of us. No interruptions, not this time." My mom pressed her lips together. My dad nodded stiffly. Lily huffed but stayed quiet. I reached into my bag and pulled out the stack of printed screenshots, placing them on the coffee table like evidence at a trial. This isn't about one night, it's about a pattern. Every time something was supposed to be about me, it stopped being about me the second Lily was upset. Every time I needed support, I was told to understand because she needed it more. Every time she wanted something, everything else was rearranged around her. I slid one of the papers toward my mom. It was the group chat where she'd informed a few relatives. "We're canceling Mia's party. Lily is too upset to handle a big gathering. We'll do something for Mia later." No happy birthday Mia, no acknowledgement, just logistics for Lily's feelings. My mom's face went pale. "I didn't mean—" "You did," I interrupted gently but firmly. "You meant it at the time. You have meant versions of that for years. I know you didn't intend to hurt me, but that doesn't change the fact that you did." My dad finally looked up. "We didn't realize you felt invisible," he said slowly. "We thought you were stronger, less fragile." A humorless laugh escaped me. "You confused silence with strength. You thought that because I stayed quiet like she did, I was fine. You never stopped to consider that maybe I stayed quiet because I knew no one would take my side anyway." I took out my phone, found the recording, and hit play. Lily's voice filled the room. "If I cry long enough, Mom cancels anything for me. She doesn't care who she lets down as long as I calm down." Silence slammed into the room when it ended. Lily's face went from pink to bright red. "You recorded me?" she shrieked. "That's creepy, Mia. You're so messed up." "You know what's more messed up?" I replied, still calm, knowing exactly how to manipulate our parents and doing it over and over while watching what it cost me. "You'd rather label me dramatic than admit you've been gaming the system."
My mom turned to Lily slowly, something like horror creeping across her features. "Is that true?" she whispered. "Have you been using us like that?" Everyone in the room stared at Lily, waiting. For once, nobody jumped in to protect her. She floundered. "Everyone manipulates their parents," she snapped. I don't know, you always freak out when I get upset. I didn't think it was a big deal." That's the point. You didn't think about anyone but yourself. You never had to, because every time they protected you, and every time I was told to suck it up, to be understanding, to be strong. My dad's shoulders slumped. My grandparents watched Lily like they were seeing her for the first time, clearly, without the blur of excuses. I leaned forward, my words slow and deliberate. "I didn't leave to punish you," I said. "I left because staying was killing me. Because every time I tried to say something, I was brushed off or guilted into silence. Because when you canceled my 18th birthday, something you knew mattered to me, to keep Lily calm, it finally sank in. I would never be a priority in that house as long as things stayed the way they were." My mom started crying harder. "We were just trying to keep the peace," she insisted weakly. "We thought—" "You weren't keeping peace," I cut in. "You were keeping a pattern. Real peace is when everyone's needs matter. What you built was a system where one person's comfort was more important than another person's existence." The words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. My dad cleared his throat. "So what do we do now?" he asked hoarsely. "What do you want from us?" I let the question settle before I answered. Then I looked at each of them in turn. My mom, my dad, my sister, who was fuming and humiliated. "First," I said, "you stop asking me to come back just so I can glue everything together again. I'm not your emotional janitor. You learn how to parent both of your daughters without sacrificing one for the other. You get Lily whatever actual help she needs instead of letting her tantrums dictate all of your decisions. You stop pretending this is just a miscommunication." My mom swallowed. "And you?" she asked, voice trembling. "Do you ever plan on moving back home?" I took a deep breath. "I honestly don't know," I said. "Right now, I'm living a life where I'm not invisible. I have a job. I have music that people actually listen to. I have space to breathe. I'm not walking away from all that just to jump back into the same role I had before." My grandma nodded slightly, approval in her eyes. My grandpa leaned back, a subtle kind of satisfaction settling on his face. Not because my family was hurting, but because someone was finally holding them accountable. My mom sobbed harder. This time, I didn't rush to comfort her. Lily glared at me with watery eyes, but her usual cutting remarks had dried up. My dad wiped his face and looked at me like I was someone he was only just starting to understand. "You're right," he said quietly. "We failed you. If you never forgive us, I wouldn't blame you." Hearing that didn't magically erase anything. It didn't cure 18 years of being the second thought. But it did something important. It shifted the weight. The guilt I'd always carried, that I was the problem, that wanting to be seen made me selfish, finally slid off my shoulders and landed where it belonged. "I don't know what our relationship is going to look like from here," I said as I stood up. "Maybe we rebuild something. Maybe we don't. That's not a decision I have to make today. What I do know is this: the version of me who lets you walk all over her is gone. If you want me in your lives, it's going to have to be as an equal, not an accessory, not a backup plan, not the one you turn to only when things fall apart." No one stopped me when I walked toward the door. No one begged me to stay and fix the mood. Outside, the air felt different, crisp, honest. Like for the first time in a long time, I was breathing air that belonged to me. On my phone, a new comment had appeared under my latest song.
Sometimes the real revenge is choosing yourself and letting the people who hurt you sit with what they've done. Reading it, I realized I finally believed that completely. So that's what I did. I went back to the cafe, to the music, to the quiet, steady work of building a life where I wasn't an afterthought. My family was left to face the empty space where I used to prop everything up and decide whether they'd grow from it or sink. If you were in my position, if your 18th birthday was canceled to protect someone else's tantrum and your worth was an afterthought for years, would you ever move back in?